let's dive into the one thing that's guaranteed to make you gain weight every day. So there was this mentor and student. Okay, I love this story. There was this mentor and student, and this student was really frustrated. He was having a hard time in life, and he went to his mentor and he said, you know, how much bitterness is in life? I can't seem to escape any of it. And the mentor smiles and hands him a cup full of water. He hands the student a cup full of water. And before the student takes a sip, the mentor pours some salt in it. Pours a bunch of salt in this little cup, and he says, go ahead, now drink. So the student is not looking forward to drinking it, but he's like, okay, let me trust my mentor. So he takes a sip, and he spits it out. It's disgusting. It's super salty. It burns his mouth. And then silently, the mentor takes his student's hand and walks outside to the lake, just outside the doors. And he takes that cup from the student, the cup with salt in it, and he throws it in the lake. And then the mentor says, now drink. So the student kneels down, cups his hands, takes a drink from the lake. And the student goes, wow, that's very refreshing. Much better than the cup. And the mentor smiles because the student just figured out what he was trying to teach him. You see, the bitterness in the cup in the lake, it's the same amount of salt. What the difference is the container that holds it. You see, a small cup, putting all this bitterness, all this pain and suffering in that small cup is gonna make life pretty overwhelming really quick. That salt was pretty concentrated. But if we zoom out and we think of our container as a vast, open, beautiful lake, that's our life, then we can see our hardships and our struggles and our bitterness and how they fit into the bigger picture. And then they don't sting as much. They don't burn as much because they're diluted by so much other wonderful things. And this really spoke to me because for as long as I can remember my weight loss journey, all of my bitterness, my struggles, my frustrations, I would hold them in a small cup. They would get to me. So by putting my bitterness, all the bitternesses of life, in this small cup, they were just overwhelming, and they seemed to be the most frequent and highest intensity thing in my life, the thing that I would always focus on, the thing that always pop up, and it just seemed that I was unlucky. And it got to a point where it just turned me into a person I just didn't like, into a person that would never be successful in a weight loss journey, right? Like I remember, I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys because if I wasn't over this or I wasn't such strong of a person, this would be really embarrassing to share. But I remember that, have you ever tried to be healthy, but then it backfired? Like you'd be like, okay, I'm only going to have one cookie, and then you'd eat 10 cookies, And so one time, on multiple occasions, I bought a box of cookies. I ate a few of them, felt guilty, didn't like how I felt, and so I would angrily threw them out. I threw the rest out. So I'm not going to eat any more. And I threw them out in the container. But then as the day went on, those cookies were in the back of my mind. And by the end of the nighttime, I would rummage through the garbage, pull them out of their package, and eat them. Like I was eating from the garbage. And I was just in this spiral of, woe is me, and I can't get out of it, and this rut seems permanent and forever. I was eating out of a garbage. But by switching the container of my bitterness, by looking at life as the glass half full instead of half empty, I didn't feel so suffocated. Half the reason that women overeat, or we can't control ourselves, or we're snacking and we have all these cravings, I've seen this time and time again, is because we've dieted for so long, on and off, yo-yoing, we've trained ourselves that there's good food and there's bad food. And if you have the bad food, you should feel bad about it, and it's going to screw you up and ruin your results. And you could only eat the good food. That's the only way to get results. And then when we do the bad thing, we think we're bad people, and we did bad things, and then all the emotions that are associated with bad come on in. And then they make us keep doing bad things, or keep feeling bad about doing whatever we were doing. And so we overeat simply because we think, what's the point? Right? We already ruined it. And that's just so not the case. That's just not the case. Right? If there's a weed in your garden, you pull the weed. You don't just say, oh, well, I tried, and then let it turn into a garden of weeds. That's not how it works. But yet, that's what we do when it comes to our weight loss and our health and our habits. Right? And so the challenge is a way to prove to yourself that you're going to stay on the wagon this time. And even if you might feel like you're being pulled and dragged by the wagon, you're still on it. You know, this is a safe space where you can feel like you don't have to be perfect. You can feel like, you know, the bitterness is getting the best of you, and you're holding it in that small cup. But then we remind you, especially having coaches, to open up your lake. Throw the salt in your lake. Look at the bigger picture. For me, as soon as I realized that I woke up today, I'm breathing. I got all 10 fingers and 10 toes. I'm healthy, I'm happy, my family's healthy and happy. That's it. Life's good. There are no problems. Everything else is just a challenge to tackle, and I'm up for it. Because if it wasn't there, life would be boring. The only reason we know what feeling good feels like, the only reason we know excitement and joy and pleasure, is because we know what the contrasting emotions feel like. We know what it's like to be in pain, to be heartbroken, to have sorrow and struggle. Without that, we would never feel happy. And so I appreciate this because it allows me to feel this. I wouldn't be able to contrast it without. And if I woke up today, I'm good. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is that important. Nothing else could ever be that bad if I am still alive. And I hold that true every single day. Really and truly. And so now I live life with a lake, with an ocean. And nothing is ever that bad to me. But it took me a while to get there, and it does take small steps. But I encourage you to stop tightly holding on to the bitternesses of life, or the setbacks, the things that don't go your way. Stop holding it on so tightly, taking it so personally. It's a part of life that allows us to feel the good emotions too. It's just there for contrast, not there for focus. If you focus on it, it will feel overwhelming. And it will feel like your life is against you. And there's a snowball, and it's a snowballing effect. When I switched this thinking, I got lucky. Like, my life started getting lucky. Like, I made more money. I made better, closer friends. I got the best body. I got the strongest body. I met my husband. Right? I had my son. Like, you get lucky. You kind of create your own luck when you switch this thinking. And don't you think if you were lucky, if you created your luck, you had more luck, this would be a lot easier? Well, that's the power of this. And so it's about enjoying your life. Enjoying every aspect of your life and being thankful for it. And just let it pass. Sometimes emotions and circumstances and things that happen in life, sometimes we don't have to acknowledge them. Sometimes we don't have to analyze them, reflect, or even bother talking about them. We don't have to talk about every time we had a little extra bite here or there, or every time we skipped a workout. Move on, do better. Move on, do better. When you harp on it, you slow yourself down. No one's judging you except yourself. Think of your negative emotions or the negative things that happen to you. Think of them as leaves falling down onto a river, and the river just washing them away. You can see them, you can acknowledge them, but just as quickly as they fell, they can float away. Let them float by you, like a kid and a tantrum. If you ignore it, they stop. It's time to be smart with how we deal with this stuff. You can outsmart these negative things. That small cup. Very, very simple.